Hi, I'm John Garcia. Earlier in my Cal lesson, I taught you guys about rhythm. Now let's apply pitches to that rhythm in music. Because, unless you're playing an unpitched percussion instrument, you're going to have to learn how to read pitches. Now, let's first explain what I have on the board here. Here we have two staves, or one staff, staves plural. Now, these staves, they symbolically provide instructions to the musician on what notes should be played, at what time, and exactly which pitches should be played. So these, just for fun fact, these are called time and pitch graphs. Now, every staff has 5 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4. You'll see that in every staff, anywhere you see, except for maybe modern music, but that's weird stuff that we won't get into today. Now, we have 2 different clefs. These are symbols that tell us exactly what pitches will be on what spaces and what lines. So the 2 most popular, or the 2 most commonly used at least, instruments or clefs are the treble clef and the bass clef. And I'll draw them here. First, I'll draw the treble clef. Next, the bass clef. If you want to draw these at home, or you have a spurt of composition inspiration and you just want to start writing something, let's learn how to draw the treble clef first. So we start on the second line from the bottom, here. Hopefully you can see that dot there. We make a circle, meet at the middle line here, go down, meet at the lower line here, then we go all the way up, no, somewhere up here. Don't be too exaggerated with it. Make a diagonal line going in between these 2 dots here, and then making a little tail here. So drawing that slowly, we reach the second dot, go to the third dot, make our loop-de-loop up here. Sorry, that's really ugly. Then make a loop back down, and then the tail. Now, that looks kind of ugly because I drew it kind of slow, but you'll get the hang of it and it'll come out kind of pretty-ish like that. Now, for the bass clef, very simple compared to the treble clef. I'm really sorry, that looks really ugly. But anyway, bass clef. You start on the second line from the top, here. And basically you make a little curve, as this one, down to the bottom line here. So like this. And then you put 2 dots, one in the top space and one in the space second from the top. So it looks like a little frowny face, but sideways. So little cutesy thing there. Now, sorry, let me just erase these really quick. Now, these clefs are not here, and these 2 things, they're called clefs. These 2 clefs here are not just for a pretty aesthetic at the beginning of the piece, right? Or at the beginning of the measures. They're there for a set of instructions, as I explained before. So let me just write here, this is a treble clef. Hopefully you can see that. And this is a bass clef. Now, before I start explaining what notes go where in each clef, let's talk about the musical alphabet. So, the musical alphabet starts on A, just like our alphabet does in English. Goes B, C, D, E, F, and then ends on G, although it doesn't really end. The musical alphabet repeats itself over and over again. So we would go go to G, start right back at A where we left off, and start the musical alphabet again. C, ... keep going, etc. Similarly, where we started at A here, we can go backwards. So we would go G, F, E, and so on and so forth. You get the idea. And this just repeats itself over and over again. Now, depending on the instrument and on your hearing, this can go on for, I don't know, whatever length of, or whatever range of pitches, right? We don't necessarily write for whales, so you're not going to get an infinite amount of pitches on this side and infinite amount of pitches on that side, right? You can only hear what your ear can hear. So, but basically, A through G repeats itself over and over again, right? So that's our musical alphabet there. So how does this musical alphabet transfer over to these two staves? Let's start with the bass clef. So in our bass clef, these lines and spaces belong to particular notes particular notes and pitches that we play, you know, on the piano, on a clarinet, saxophone, whatever. So the following goes here. So starting on this first space here, the letter A, or the note A, would belong here. The next one would be C, the second space on the bass clef. Remember, we're talking about bass clef right now. Next would be E, and then G. Okay. On the lines, we would start on G, because remember we repeat stuff here, right? So we would start on G, B would be the next line, D would be the next line, F the next line, and A the top line. Right? And so you can see here how it repeats. We start on G here, A, B, or B on this line, C, D, E, F, G, A, and so on and so forth, right? So that's the bass clef. For treble clef, our first space is not A, it is F. So any note that is an F in the treble clef would go here. A would go here, C, and then E. On the first line, we would start on E, then go G, B, D, F. And remember, we repeat, right? So E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, back to E, F, and so on and so forth, right? And just for you visual learners out there, I'm going to go ahead and put these bass clef letter names in the color green, just so we can see a little difference, and so that the music isn't totally black and white. So let me see. G, B, D, F, A, C, E, G. Right. So there are the locations of your notes on their respective treble and bass clefs. And so now relating this to actual music, to actual pitches, sounds. So we have our keyboard here, right? Just pretend that this is a grand piano. I don't necessarily have one here in the library, so I'm sorry for that, but I did my best. So hopefully you can see. So we're gonna start on middle C. Middle C sounds exactly like what its name is. It is the middle C on the piano, the very middle note of the piano. And that is this note right here, middle C. Now, this is always going to be C, this note right here, and any notes on the keyboard that look the same with these pairings here. So like you see, this is C, it has the two black keys, and then C here. C would also go here. C would also go here. And you can see that how that repetition comes back with the musical alphabet, right? Let me see. So now let's apply these note names to the keyboard. So middle C, we have to kind of alter our staves in order to write this middle C. Middle C would actually go in between the bass and treble staves. And so right now I'm talking about if we're looking at music written for piano, right? You have the bass part and the treble part, both been played at the same time by the piano, right? And so middle C would go in between these two staves. This little line that I added here is a ledger line, and so middle C is not actually on these staves, but we can add that ledger line whenever we have notes that are too high for one staff or too low for one staff. So middle C goes right here. And the pattern still continues with these ledger lines, right? So this space that I created here with this ledger line, this would be D. And so you can see C, the space here D, and then E, F, G, A, B, C. The space below the ledger line, above the line in the bass staff, would be B. So, oops. I'm sorry, wrong colors. Okay, so now let's move on to what notes go where. So moving back from C, what note would that be? Well, looking at our alphabet, starting at C, if we move back one note, we go to B right here, right? So this would be B. Don't worry about the black keys for right now, we'll talk about that later. For now, we'll just talk about these white keys here. So this B that I have colored in green would be the same B as if I was to write a note in this space right above the top line in the bass clef, right? So this C is middle C. Right below that is B. Here's that B, right? Next, A. And that would be the note, that would be the key right next to the B. G, F, E, D, C, and so forth, right? We just continue on. Now, to the left of middle C, whenever you see on a piano, that middle C, to the left of that is the bass clef area. So all notes here, for the most part, will be written in the bass clef. Now, why do you call it the bass clef? Well, the bass, most people can relate that to being the lower part of music, right? So whenever you hear bass in a pop music, it's usually that low boom, 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 or something, you know, to that, something to that rhythm, something related to that, right? So bass, the lower notes. Whenever you move left on the piano from middle C, though the pitches become lower, right? So you would go, so C would be here, let's say visually, C as a pitch would be here, then B, D, or B, A, G, F, so on and so forth, would get lower and lower when you hear them. For treble clef, we move from middle C to the right, and these notes become higher and higher. And so on the keyboard, you would go C, D, D, E, this E right here would be the first line E on the treble clef, or on the treble staff. F, G, A, B, C, and so on and so forth. And we would continue that way. So this part is the treble. part of the piano. So when you're playing in this part of the piano, more than likely you'll be seeing notes on this staff. All right, so now let's start talking about these black keys. There's not really much to them, actually. All you really need to do is add a little symbol in front of our notes, and you get these little black keys going, right? So, two symbols that signify whether you're going to use any of these black keys are the sharp sign, not the hashtag sign. It is not hashtag, it is a sharp sign, and the flat sign. So, flat and sharp. Now, what these two little symbols do is they alter whatever note you are playing. So, for example, let's say I have an F right here, right? So this is my note right here, and it is on the F space, so I'm playing an F right now, right? Let's say we add a sharp. Well, what a sharp does is it raises a note by a half step. And so you can see how the keyboard is set up here. All these notes, all these keys are half steps away from each other. So when you play them on the piano, and let me use this little app here, I'm going to be starting on middle C. And I'm just going to be going C, C, or C, black key, D, black key, E, F, all right? So hear how it sounds. Right, and it just keeps going like that forever and ever. That's how our Western system of music is set up, by half steps, right? So da 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 da, and we can keep on going on forever and ever, right? And so one way you can think about hearing this little half step is hearing the little Jaws, or hearing the Jaws theme song. I don't know if I can play it well here, but and just it keeps going faster. You guys recognize it, right? Da 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 da, right? That is a half step right there. You're hearing a half step, right? So all these notes you hear separated by a half step, right? So back to the symbols here. This raises whatever note is originally here by a half step. So the original note here is an F. Let me play it. An F. This F sounds like what I just played. When you add the sharp, this F now turns into this key right here. We move up one half step to this black key, and that becomes none other than F sharp. That is the name. That is the new name of the note. Not too hard to remember. It's literally written there for you. So the F natural, the regular F sounds like this, but now that we added the sharp, that F now sounds like this. Okay? So that's how a sharp works. Similarly, a flat also alters the note by a half step. However, we move down whenever we're working with a flat. So, a flat would just look like this. And so we would go back to the keyboard, F, right? This same F, but now flatted, we move down one half step to this key. Now wait, it's another white key though. It's not a black key. So, I mean, this is kind of where minds get blown, but I mean, that's just me. So, an F flat moves down to the same key an E would be in, and I mean, obviously, it would sound the same. An E sounds like this. And an E flat or an F flat sounds the same way. Right? This is the original F. F. F flat, E natural, right? So kind of weird. So notes can have two different names, or pitches can have two different names. However, they sound exactly the same. So an E, just regular E, can also be an F flat. Isn't that kind of crazy? I know, right? Music. And so that's basically how these symbols work. And that's how you get these black keys going, and that's how you get all these pretty sounds, and there's a lot of other theory involved in this music, obviously, very complicated, complex, but for right now, I'll leave you guys with this. So until next lesson, thanks for watching.